Take it out to Vegas, where the lights shine bright. Vegas, in the clear desert night. Vegas, where they can make you a star. Vegas, at the NFR.
NFR Extra is a podcast dedicated to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo and features icons and personalities that embody the Western lifestyle.
You know, coming down to that last award, and I step up on stage, and I'm right next to Isley. And Isley just leans over, and he's like, before they call the name, he's like, "Welcome to the club, buddy." And I was so emotional. I just wanted that last award so bad, and they called my name. And like, you won't book something for the third weekend of May, and you're like, "No, it's kindergarten graduation," and they're wanting you to come, but it's just some things you can't miss. Anyway, a belly button shot turned into Light and Bacardi 151 on fire out of a rump belly button, and I got the video. Everyone to see it. It's pretty good.
Hey, yeah. What a great way to promote this podcast.
This is John Harrison, Rodeo Clown Barrelman, 11 times to the Wrangler National Finals on NFR Extra.
Thank you so much for joining us, John. This is going to be fun because this is a guy that literally goes all over the U.S. celebrating our way of life. And if you're just looking for a good story, and it doesn't matter if you're just talking about rodeo. I mean, some of his road adventures are fun to follow. So, John, if you will, I want you to tell everybody about when you got to come to my house.
Oh gosh. All right. Who am I talking to?
You're talking to everyone that listens to this podcast and Steve and Brylan.
Oh my gosh. You know, I tell you, we get to travel all over the United States, and going to people's houses is always a treat. And getting spoiled is one of those opportunities that we take advantage of. And that's exactly what happens. I mean, it's always a great experience.
So John was in Ocala in between rodeos, and I get this random phone call saying, "Hey, don't you live in Ocala?" And John and I, we talk maybe once or twice a year, and it's just because we don't work a lot of rodeos together. He and I have done one or two, but we just never have to see our schedules line up. So when John asked what my hometown is, I'm curious. So he goes to tell me that, "Hey, I found this new trick riding horse, and so I've got to get it tuned up, and I'm going to be in your backyard." So we go to dinner at Texas Roadhouse, and I bought dinner, and he felt guilty about it. So he comes to our house and like brings all this stuff, and we just have a great spread. And the stories that you hear from a guy that travels like John are just priceless.
Being stuck away from home is one of them things, especially whenever you're spending training days, hours on end, and you can't mess with the horse all day. You give him a little bit and you leave. And then sometimes you're not getting to hang out with your people. And so anyway, when I found out, yes, I knew exactly where you lived. I was just going to see if you was going to tell me. And then, yeah, and then the whole Texas Roadhouse experience was a great night. And then getting to come to the house and experience dinner with civilized people, I guess it was great. Some of the kids, well-mannered kids that you don't mind being around. I mean,
where were Andy's kids at?
Right. No kidding, huh? Oh, that is great. Yeah. I can't wait. I'm actually in Florida looking for a place to stop on the way back to Oklahoma. So watch out.
Come on by.
Okay. Careful what you say. I'll buy Texas Roadhouse.
How did you get involved in the PRCA in general? Because when you look John Harrison up, trick rider, Roman rider, and then later becomes a barrelman. So I want to hear a little bit about your journey with the PRCA.
I say it's what happens 4 years of junior college and you don't finish. I actually grew up in rodeo. My grandfather was a world champion bull rider, Freckles Brown, and I realized really quick I wasn't tough enough to ride bulls. I got on a steer when I was about 12, and it thumped me really hard, knocked the breath out of me. And I was just like, why in the world would anybody want to do this? When I'd seen Leon and Vicky Adams perform trick riding, and you get paid every time, regardless if you fall off or what. And so I kind of got into the trick riding side, the Roman riding, and realized pretty quick after having my card for about 2 or 3 years that not all rodeos hire acts, but every single rodeo has a clown. And so I figured out if I was going to make a living doing this, I better transform over and start trying to do the clowning side. And I'd already had a comedy act that I'd put together. And so it kind of fell hand in hand. And one day in Dubuque, Iowa, the rodeo clown did not show up. I was working for Dave Moorhead as a specialty act, and he was like, "You're up." And I'm like, "I don't know what to do." And he's like, "You'll be fine." I had Roger Mooney announcing for me, and he pretty much, he'd set the ball on the tee and let me hit it. So I realized really quick, when you don't have great announcers, a couple of weeks later, it's a lot more difficult. But that's how I got into it.
That it's pretty cool. One of the things that I admire about you, John, is you go by on social media as the clown family, and you being the patriarch of it. But especially when you go to Las Vegas for the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, seldom do you just get to see John Harris by himself. It's the entire, the wife and the kids and everything, and that's pretty special, man. What's it like having your family to be a part of this?
Man, getting to travel with them on the road is the best. Being gone away from them, Andy can tell you, like, it's not fun whenever you're you get those videos and you're FaceTime and all that, and you're missing out on life events that you can't get back with your kids, and committees don't understand when they call and, like, you won't book something for the third weekend of May, and you're like, no, it's kindergarten graduation, and they're wanting you to come, but it's just some things you can't miss. And the family to me is what it's about. We sell tickets to rodeos and they bring the family. It's a family event, and that's exactly how I feel. I have my family on the road, and it's an adventure for us. Usually you got 5 of us crammed in a living quarter trailer, for, 2 or 3 months at a time. And it is, an experience. I guess they get to see things all over the country that most kids would never get to see. If it wasn't for rodeo, my kids wouldn't get to see it. And that's a blessing for me. And, I've put my kids in the act numerous times, and they always hold that over my head now that, when they want something, they'll always bring that up about how they helped me with acts. So they think they need a little compensation for it now. But having the family on the road is 100% worth it. It's more expensive, of course. You have to travel with 5 of us, and everything costs a lot of money. But my wife behind the scenes, she's the one that she warms up my horses, cools out my horses, allow me to be in the arena more. And she helps pick out people for acts, and she's pretty daggone good at what she does. And not to mention the driving. I really enjoy that aspect of having her on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. She's kind of a saint of the whole entire deal, but that's pretty neat. So do your kids show, other than having the mandatory, you will participate in this act, do your kids have any ambition? Because I can't remember, what's your son's name?
Taz.
Okay. Vegas, I've heard a couple of jokes from him that are really funny and a little bit like, oh, he just said that. But do they have kind of the natural, I want to be an entertainer, or is that something that you're just kind of sitting back and seeing what happens there?
I'm just going to have to sit back and see what happens. My daughter, she, of course, sees my oldest daughter, who's 15, Addie, saw trick riding, and she wanted to try it. And we'd go to the arena, and I don't know if it's because being a dad in the arena and she don't want to listen, but she complained that trick riding hurts. I'm like, well, yeah, it doesn't feel good. Like, it's not an easy thing to do. So we'd butt heads, and she's decided that she don't want to be a trick rider anymore. And Kaz, he likes the entertainment side of it when it comes to the money, but it's just not cool. He's 12 and his buddies aren't doing it, so he don't want to. And he wants to ride saddle broncs when he gets older, and he's been going to youth rodeos and getting on some steers. And then my youngest daughter, Charlie, she could probably be my entertainer. She's all about having fun, but who knows what she's going to do. She's been getting into mutton busting and kicking tail. We have a youth organization there at home, TJRAs, and my daughter has won a lot more money riding sheep than my son has riding steers, and he does not take that risk.
Well, you got to try harder.
That's right. That's why I told him. If we add up all the time you rode a steer, don't equal the one time that she rode the sheep.
Yeah. Speaking of your family, you told us that you like taking them to Vegas as much as you can for the finals. This year was a little different because usually you don't have much of a microphone presence. You don't get your usual opportunity to entertain the crowd, but you had a little bit of a curveball thrown at you this year. I want you to tell that story for people that may not have been in the Thomas and Mack.
So if you've never been to the NFR, and I know a lot of committees go there and they'll look at me and be like, hey, we'd like to have you at your rodeo, but you really didn't do anything. We've seen you at Vegas, and that's not what we're looking for. And I'm like, well, that's not how it usually works. So Vegas, the rodeo clown don't get a microphone. And it's a fast-paced show. It's the fastest-paced rodeo that there is in the nation. And there's not really any time for a clown to do anything during the event. But during the TV breaks and whatnot, I've been trying to get just a spot with a microphone, and you always worry about a clown going over or into the commercial break or whatever. And so we came up with a couple of ways that I considered foolproof that we could use a microphone. And we talked to the general manager, and Alan agreed. And he said, we're going to try this. And we went out one night and we did the wave horseback, and it was a lot of fun getting the crowd involved. And we did the Simba Cam. And if you've never seen the Simba Cam, you go out and you talk about the Lion King and holding your kid in the air. And so right after the bareback riding, I think it was around 6, we went out and we did the Simba Cam. It was planned, it had the microphone. It worked out really well. Well, I'm going back up the tunnel to go to the locker room, and they get the microphone from me. Just, because we're done, obviously.
Right.
And I go back and we're sitting down watching the steer wrestling in the locker room, and the lights flicker. And I'm like, oh, what was that? Well, in our room, we could still hear the announcers just fine. So I thought everything was just, back to normal. And my wife calls and she's like, get out there. You got to do something. I'm like, I just got done. And so I had no idea the lights were out. And so everybody thinks, because the lights went out, that they should be able to come right back on. But the difference is the lights there aren't LED lights. They're the old school lights that take 15 minutes to cool down. And they're like, well, they turn them off all the time, but they're not really turning the lights off. They have shutters that go in front of the lights. So the shutters, when it goes dark in the Thomas and Mack, it's just the shutters going over the front of the lights. The lights never turn off. So I go running up to the announcer stand, and of course, everybody's in a panic, and so I asked Hambone, who was calling the shots there, because one of the guys that does it was actually in the hospital sick. And I was like, what do you want me to do? He's like, I don't care. Go do something. So we run out there. We had in-house music and announcing. Thank goodness we were just waiting on the lights to come up, and got the opportunity to actually ad-lib a little bit and have fun in the arena. And we did the wave, went around there 3 or 4 times, and it's a lot easier horseback than it is running on the ground. I will say that. And then Benji, we had one of the greatest sound guys in the world there, thank goodness. And Benji played all these sing-alongs, and we got to pull the cell phones out, and everybody turned on their flashlights. And it was one of them opportunities where a rodeo clown got to actually do something, and I'll never, ever forget it. It was a great opportunity.
That's awesome.
A couple of times I would see the bulldoggers right forward I'd be out in the middle of the arena, and the last thing you want to do at this point is be in the arena when they're ready to start.
Right.
And I would see 2 bulldoggers ride in, and I'm like, oh, crud. And so I would take off running to the fence, and they were just like truly walking in to let their horses breathe and loosen them up. Wow. Then I'd run back out.
I can tell you, we won't forget it here in Las Vegas, that little moment. It was quite entertaining for all of us. And I will say thank you on your behalf, because it was definitely a silent moment in the building, all caused by one little car wreck power outage. So
right. Everybody asked me if I paid the lady to hit the transformer.
I can neither confirm nor deny these accusations. That's but right. Sally sure is a nice gal.
Right. Exactly.
That's always encouraging too, when you sit there and you're like, what do I do? It's like, I don't know, do something. It's like, very clear. Thank you very much. Let me just.
Yes. You don't have any idea. And that's the one rodeo that every eye is upon you. You don't want to screw up, so it was kind of, it makes you nervous to run out there, because you don't know at what point that they're truly ready to roll back in. Yeah. And you don't want to be standing in the middle of the arena, and the announcer has to be like, hey, John, can you get out of the arena so we can go, so I just kind of played it by ear, and finally you could see the lights get a little brighter. And I didn't know at what point that they would say, "Hey, let's go." The bulldog is probably the most laid back guys at all when it comes to when they could have bulldogged in the dark, and they wouldn't have cared. So yeah, fun experience for me. I know that. Yeah.
Let's take a quick pause, and we'll be right back. Looking for NFR video content and features? It's all in one place at /Las Vegas NFR. You will find unique features like the top 35 most memorable moments since 1985, the top 60 NFR contestants of all time, NFR Champions recaps, custom NFR videos, and much more. You'll also find NFR performance recaps, insider tips, and interviews you might have missed along the way. Once you dive in, you'll find a lot more great content. There's something for all rodeo fans, because legacies and memories are made in Vegas.
That's pretty rewarding. I mean, just getting to NFR as a barrelman is something that, of course, everybody in the industry that is in that division has aspirations for. But then to have an opportunity like that to really capitalize off of, you really got to kind of show your worth, for all those other committees that say, well, you didn't do anything. It's like, that's the thing is when it's easy, it's almost, I won't say anybody can do it, but man, I mean, when things are rolling smooth and you got a good team and you got a good rodeo, it's like, bam, piece of cake. Oh yeah. When you got to work for it on something, especially on that level, at that caliber, with TV, with the live audience, with GMs and stock contractors and everybody's, going down your throat. I think that you really capitalized off that. And that's also where I'm kind of going on this deal is the year-end awards. That is something that any question on whether your clean sweep was rewarding or not for worth it. It's like, here you go. Here's why old John's at the wheel.
Man, well, when it comes to that, I can't tell you, so blessed this year and to be able to win the trifecta. We was on stage there and for the Coors Man to Can, they called that out. And of course, that's always a great award to win. That's, that's saying Barrelman of the Year, and it's a $10,000 bonus and your name goes on a bronze in the Hall of Fame. And so that's an award you always want to win. And the second one, I mean, we go up there. I've been nominated, I think 12 times or something, 13 times for Clown of the Year and never won it. And was not expecting it this year. It's kind of Justin Rumford's award. And I just kind of expected him to get it again and completely 100% shocked when they called my name out. And, and then you get emotional because you never won that award before and you step off stage and then you're like, holy smokes, I have a shot at the trifecta. And looking back, at the time I was like, only Flint, Rasmussen and Keith Isley have ever done this. And then I was on the Flint show the other day and he informed me that there wasn't a trifecta. The trifecta for them was whenever he won Coors Man in the Can and Clown of the Year or Act of the Year. There was no Clown of the Year. So the trifecta is when you got the NFR. So he never done it. So Isley was the only one that's ever won those three awards. And, coming down to that last award and I step up on stage and I'm right next to Isley. And Isley just leans over and he's like, before they call the name, he's like, welcome to the club, buddy. And I was so emotional. I just wanted that last award so bad and they called my name and it was just one of them God moments, you can't say thanks enough and how blessed we are and, to win all three. I mean, gosh, dogs, I went out in the hall when nobody could see and I cried like a baby.
Yeah. and to get the NFR on top of it. So it's kind of like the quad factor. It
is. You're exactly right. Absolutely.
Hey, let me ask you something. I mean, you and Justin are really good friends. Please tell me there was some sort of, like, even if it was the smallest of digs, like there had to have been something where it's like, hey, Rump, I just sitting here having a glass of cold beer with my three. There had to have been something. Come on, Johnny.
But, I felt bad because our kids never get to go to the awards banquet. And so my kids, and finding tickets for it's very difficult. Like they were sold out. So Rump bought a table because his dad had won the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Right.
And so he had all of his kids there. And then all of my kids were there. And his kids were not happy that Dad did not win Clown of the Year. And so I was pretty easy on him. I didn't gig him much. And of course he was proud for me, but the time Hambone gigs him all the time. So that makes it a pretty good deal. But I mean, it's coming. We're close. Give it a little time, I don't want him to knock my friend for something I said.
Sure.
But,
with
I will give him a hard time. Don't worry.
With Rump's three kids, you could have gotten the negative trifecta of that thing too if you go dancing around too much by old Dad.
Rump gives us a hard time that his friends aren't really his friends because we lit him on fire one time and he still holds that over our heads. And so, that's just Rump. He come to the house one time. It was during COVID and his kids didn't get a kindergarten graduation due to all the lockdowns. So we decided to host the kindergarten graduation at our house. And there's about 20 of us there. And anyway, a belly button shot turned into Light and Bacardi 151 on fire out of Rump's belly button. And I got the video. Everyone to see it. It's pretty good.
Hey, yeah. What a great way to promote this podcast.
And just consider the source too, because this is a guy that uses a belt pack microphone and has not bought batteries in like 6 or 7 years now. So, I mean,
exactly. He's going to mooch whatever he can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love him.
Oh. So I want to know of the places you go, John, and you've been in this long enough that you're going to give the standard press conference answer, and you're not going to give me, your number one rodeo, but give me a few, in your top 5, top 10, and why you like going to those places.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you my number one. And I know most guys would never do that, but Ogden, Utah.
Okay.
And that rodeo there, and I have tons of favorites. I mean, there's no doubt. You get into the Deadwoods, and I mean, you can go on and on with the list of your favorite rodeos, because each one's got something to offer. But Ogden, I've been there. Most people, they trade out their clowns. They'll go a year and they switch them out. But I've been in Ogden for, I think, a little over 10 years, except for 1 year that Isley was wanting to go back. I was like, absolutely. I went and worked Spanish Fork, another great rodeo. But Ogden's one of them rodeos that, I mean, they roll out the red carpet for you. They get there, they build my horses these tents, they shade for my horses. There's just, we're down there. It's 100. I mean, it's 105 in Ogden. It's hot. And so my horse is standing down there, and they build my horse's shade. They put in all new power pretty much just for my trailer. I'm the only one that parks down there. But then they set us up on all these adventures. They take us to go shoot machine guns. They'll do this with the judges too, and whatever specialty acts they have. And, they offer us to go skydiving. I mean, it's just one thing after another. They built my kids a play set, like swing set stuff to play on. And my kids, by far, I mean, they get there and they get gift baskets, and it's just, they spoil us like no other. And it's just one of them rodeos that they're like family. And so, yeah, I have to put them down as number one for us. And they take care of the contestants. I mean, free haircuts, massages, cooking meals all during slack all day long. The hospitality at Ogden, Utah is second to none.
Wow, that's pretty deep. I thought you were just going there because like your contract was up, but that seems like a pretty legit number one.
We just renewed it. That's another reason.
Yeah.
Well, Roger works that rodeo with you, so I should be able to do it in 2060. So I don't know if you'll still be clowning then or not, but
well, I don't imagine my bank's going to let me quit anytime soon. So that's pretty much who I work for. It seems like. So yeah, I look forward to it. Come on, it'll be fun with you there.
I might just go use my PRCA companion pass and go get a haircut and a massage.
I like it. Oh. You can go shoot machine guns with us. That's quite the adventure right there.
I'm a little concerned about judges having machine guns, depending on how slack went.
That's a good point. But, they have other actual trained personnel there that kind of keep us in line.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. And we go play golf. I know you're a golfer. We get to go play golf like on the military base. So that's always fun. The general, actually be a guest of the general and go play a round of golf. And that's something else. The openings there at that rodeo. I mean, very few rodeos truly get like flyovers from fighter jets, and they do it there. It's really cool openings.
That's awesome.
I go on and on about that.
No, that's the cool thing about the, I mean, there's a lot about the, kind of the, gosh darn, how do I say this without going down a rabbit hole? But it almost seemed like patriotism was trying to be dissolved, or diluted out of a lot of different events. And it seems like rodeo, when that happened, for the most part, was still grabbing gears and like, no, we're, I mean, it's truly, you look at what the roots of rodeo and everything like that is, but it's like, no, this is our foundation. And how many people are, very military oriented or, have a background in that. And rodeo is kind of like one of those things where we celebrate that. So that's very encouraging to have those committees that still don't falter to that and continue to just respect the people that fight for our country and our nation and give us the freedoms that we have.
100%, and hats off to those committees that probably get negative feedback. I mean, it's hard whenever people write in that says they're too much Americana, and I definitely disagree with them. And they're like, hey, there's a lot of events you can go to. Don't, if you don't want to come, don't come and turn down a ticket sale. But they stand their ground, and we wouldn't be where we are without the military and the people, men and women that died, and that give us the right to go up and down the road. And so, I mean, hats off to those committees that actually do an opening based around patriotism and Americana. So prayer too there, and it's great when you go to a rodeo and when you get done saying amen and the crowd cheers, you're like, this is God's still alive. Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of the American dream, I've got one more question that's been bugging me, because I still have to question myself and how I was able to accomplish this. But how did you get a beautiful and talented wife? Because I know mine was just like tripping over a sidewalk, and she helped me, get back to my feet. But how in the heck did you get Carla?
Well, now, don't every woman grow up dreaming of wanting to marry a rodeo clown?
Yeah. So does her dad. Oh.
Right. Oh, I think her dad was more disappointed than anybody. I don't know. Oh gosh, there's a story there. I'd been dating Carla for a while. We met in Iowa. She was doing an internship for World's Toughest Rodeo, doing media and marketing. She was going to school in Cal Poly in California. And I really liked her. I was really dumb at dating, I guess. I was dating her for 3 months before she ever knew I was dating her. And I had to explain that to her, calling her every day. And so anyway, I know that I like this chick, and I want to marry her. And so my dad always told me, said, hey, when you find the right one, you got to go to her dad and ask for permission. I was like, oh gosh, well, I'm a rodeo clown in Oklahoma and don't have the budget to go to California to ask her dad. And so I finally drum up the courage to call, and her parents were on the road, and her mom answered, and I was like, hey, Ginger, this is John. Can I speak with Roy? And she's like, sure. So Roy gets on the phone, and I was like, Roy, this is John. I was like, I just want to let you know that I love your daughter, and I want to marry her, and just wanted your permission. And he goes, yeah. He said, that'd be perfectly fine with me. Hey, when I get back to town, I need to get some tires put on this car. He said, I was like, this is John from Oklahoma. He goes, oh, hell, you marry her too. I don't care. I knew that John, it sunk in later. I knew that John, he was talking about it. He changed the oil in my truck. It was a local mechanic there in town. And I was like, now I'm nervous. So, he's going to say yes to the first person that calls. He's trying to get rid of her. So,
oh gosh, that's awesome.
I'm married way over my head. She is awesome. She's an auctioneer, so she travels quite a bit doing that, going back and forth to California, which is good. Lets her see her family. But awesome mom, and she tends to all of our rent houses and the headaches that I don't want to. And so, man, I'm married up, just like you, Andy. Up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there was only one way to add height to my family. I had to marry up. So.
That is true. Your kids are thankful for your relationship.
Yes, they are. They can write me a thank you note when they graduate.
There we go. I like it.
Well, before I let you go, I'm going to have you pick one of your favorite restaurants while you're in Las Vegas, because you are here 14 days a year minimum.
Oh, gosh. Michael's is, if you've ever been to Michael's, that is the place that, for those of us who married up, you got to take your wife at least once a year to a restaurant like that. And Michael's, you can't beat the service in that place. It is absolutely unbelievable. And the food, you will leave there foundered. I promise you.
Yeah. When you can pop quail eggs like M&Ms, it's a problem. You got to start slowing down.
That is so true. And it's a great place to try stuff you haven't tried, because it's going to be done right. And if you don't like it, well, then that way you walk away from there knowing that food wasn't for you. But then the steaks there, I mean, we took our kids one year. Michael treated us after the rodeo, took the bullfighters and my kids, and my gosh, they still talk about it to this day. And that's probably our favorite restaurant.
Did they look at you funny when you ordered a Coors Light? Because it's got a pretty good wine list, if I remember correctly.
They have a great wine list, and my wife took advantage of the wine list, and I ordered a Coors Light. And when I did, they brought this little bucket in with 3 or 4 other Coors Light and set it by my chair, and I never ran out of Coors Light. So
sounds like he knows you.
I wasn't the first one to order it. And then, they want to offer you the glass, and I'm just like, I'll drink it out of the bottle. I'm kind of redneck.
Just keep these coming.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But don't let me run out. And they didn't. It was great.
Oh. Well, John, thank you so much for your time. We know you're busy. Since you're closer to the equator than any of us, please wear sunscreen. And we appreciate your time, brother, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I might sneak by Ocala here in the next week, so watch out.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, buddy. See y'all.
Want to experience more of the NFR? Then visit NFRexperience.com, and we invite you to subscribe to NFR Extra on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you're listening right now. If you like what you've heard on NFR Extra, we would love it if you gave us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe.